It's the biggest insider trading trial in a generation, and it starts today. Hedge fund baron Raj Rajaratnam will stand trial on 14 counts of securities fraud and conspiracy. He's accused of using tips from a network of traders, corporate officials, and colleagues to generate $45 million in illegal profits. 19 others have already pleaded guilty to charges, and even Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein may testify for the prosecution. Doug Burns is a former federal prosecutor who now has his own private practice. He's here with us on the Inside Track today. Doug, welcome.
Thanks.
Wiretaps, guilty pleas, cooperating witnesses. Honestly, how can the government lose this case?
It does kind of seem like an uphill battle. I mean, when the case started, we were all commenting that wiretaps are unusual, Eric, in a securities fraud case. Usually you see them in narcotics trafficking, organized crime type cases. So Wall Street was saying to themselves, oh my God, they have wiretaps. Wiretaps, of course, are the actual conversations. Normally in an insider trading case, I call you at 10:14 and then at 10:16 you make a trade. So we infer that maybe I did something wrong. Here, they're going to hear the defendant's actual words on tape. So everybody is, exactly as you put it, scratching their head saying, why is he going to trial? But look, I don't prejudge a case. I've been on both sides of the courtroom. Strange things can happen in a courtroom.
Well, you've seen insider trading cases before. In this case, though, well, let's put it this way. Sure. It is the job of the defense to discredit cooperating witnesses. Does that become much more difficult when you hear their voices on tape?
Well, again, that's a good way to put it, because normally what happens is somebody comes in and says, yes, I did call Eric at 10:14, and here's what I told him, okay? And then on cross-examination, well, you're trying to save yourself, you're trying to get a more lenient sentence. So people wiser than I have already said, it depends on the caliber and the specificity of what is on tape. If I'm on tape saying, look, the merger, that's the big secret, that's going to be announced next Tuesday, that's going to be a very tough uphill battle, just as you say.
So what does Raj Rajaratnam have working in his favor, and how, in your opinion, is the defense likely to play that up?
Right. Good question. On the defense side, you do have a lot of options, because first of all, legally, you're not required to do anything. You can just sit back. You don't have to come forth with any evidence. One related corollary is his intimation that he may testify. That's interesting, because...
Like the O.J. trial, right?
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say that, because that's exactly what happened. O.J. Simpson wanted to work both sides of the aisle. He wanted to make it seem, Eric, as though I wanted to testify, but my lawyers were the one who stopped it. I think this defendant may want to get it out there. Look, I want to as well. And then at the last minute, it becomes a little bit by the way of a sandbag, because it can also cause the government to prepare for that process.
Right. And it's all moving at very high speed. Exactly. So any time that you lose could be costly, right? The pyrotechnics, you might call them, right,
yes,
are already underway.
Yes.
The government files insider trading accusations against Rajat Gupta, but it's with an administrative judge. It's raising some questions, and they name Lloyd Blankfein as a potential witness for the prosecution. What's the risk this could backfire, though? It seems, again, like such a slam-dunk case. Why have this stuff going on the side?
It's very, very interesting, because you really have the legal and the academic, and then you have the human dramatis personae, and as you said, the bombshells going off. The Gupta matter was very interesting, because the defense is really saying, look, this was a pro-defense witness who was going to help us. And so now, 1 week before the trial, you turn around and bring this administrative proceeding saying that he tipped them, by the way, on a $5 billion investment by Warren Buffett. So it's like kind of to back the defense on their heels. But they may still call him as a defense witness. As far as Lloyd Blankfein, that's also interesting, because at first blush, it's like, oh my God, can you possibly have a more creditable witness? But what's he really going to say, Eric, on the specifics of the case? Nothing. What he's going to say, with all due respect, is we have longstanding policies against divulging confidential information in place to give a gloss of legitimacy more to the prosecution. But it really, I don't think he has any substantive knowledge of any criminality.
Doug, people wonder with these developments whether or not perhaps the government lawyers have something up their sleeve. Is that possible, or given the very strict rules of conduct around criminal proceedings, it's just too tough to play
that's a good question.
Aces, let's say?
It's a good question, because your question is actually very accurate on two fronts. On the one hand, we have the rules of discovery, which are designed to avoid surprises. So here's my evidence, you can look at it. However, we also have rules that say that you don't get the statements of a witness until the trial gets underway. So to answer your question specifically, there could be some surprise witness potentially, and nobody's going to know about that. So we'll see.
We've talked a lot about the U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara.
Yes.
What do we know about John Dowd? lead lawyer for the defense.
John Dowd, of course, you may remember, he was the lawyer involved with Major League Baseball. He prepared reports about Major League Baseball. He was also a JAG Corps lawyer in the military, which adds an interest.
But he has not prosecuted a major, or at least defended a major criminal case since 1997.
Well, yeah, it's been a while, but you know, he's involved on a day-to-day basis, as I am, you know, with these type of cases. So he has tremendous experience. Also, it's interesting, this is kind of a level playing field, because don't forget, the defendant has a lot of resources. So I think I heard this morning there are going to be 12 people in the courtroom on his behalf, and then many others behind him. You know, you can't always fight the government at their level. They have a lot of resources, obviously, budgetary resources. But as far as Dowd, you know, the sexy angle, as it were, he's a fighter, he's a military guy, this is going to be a war, that type of thing.
We're all looking forward to seeing how it plays out. As you point out, you can't really fight the government on their own level, but if you're Raj Rajaratnam, you can certainly try to intimidate them. Doug Burns, former federal prosecutor, now at his own private practice. Doug, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.